Yo, what's up guys, Great2G here, and today we're going to be talking about emulators. I get the question all the time about what emulator do I use and why. I use MuMu App Player, by the way, but today we're going to be talking about three of the best emulators in my opinion, which are MuMu App Player, LDPlayer, and BlueStacks. I know there's going to be people out there that are like, Nox, I like Nox, Nox is best, or MuMu's the best, or KO Player, or etc, etc, etc. There's tons of emulators out there, but in my opinion, these are the three best ones. So, I'm going to talk about why I use MuMu, the advantages and disadvantages of MuMu, and also the advantages and disadvantages of the other two, LDPlayer and BlueStacks. So for this test, we'll be testing the load times of the emulators themselves, the load times of two games in particular, Black Desert Mobile and Dragon Raja, and the frame rates of those two games. So first, let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages. And we'll start with MuMu because that's the one I use, and I'll let you guys know straight away why I use this. And the main reason I use this is because it is developed by NetEase Games. So if you don't know who NetEase Games are, they're basically one of the biggest mobile game developers in the world. They make some of the most amazing games I've ever played on mobile, so definitely check them out if you have never played any of the NetEase games, because they're really, really awesome. But it's not like you only have to play NetEase games on MuMu. You can play any games from any developer on MuMu. That being said, like Tencent also has their own emulator called, well, it used to be called Tencent Gaming Buddy, now it's called Game Loop, but it's a bit harder to play non-Tencent games on that one. So it's a good emulator for like Call of Duty Mobile and PUBG Mobile. Those are two of the biggest mobile games out there. They're both made by Tencent, but yeah. Anyway, MuMu Player is made by one of the best mobile game developers out there, so you can rest assured that this emulator is always going to be running games as best as it possibly can. Everything will be pretty smooth and up to date and all that good stuff because, well, it's made by a mobile game developer. Pretty much all the other emulators out there are made by like third-party companies that just are trying to develop emulators, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, MuMu, made by NetEase, a popular game developer. But that being said, then we can start talking about the advantages and disadvantages of that fact, because since it's made by a mobile game developer, there are some features that other emulators have that this one doesn't have, because they're kind of, well, you could consider them as cheating. So for example, other emulators allow you to record macros, and you can loop macros and basically bot your characters, and you can also run multiple instances of the same game and run multiple characters at the same time and bot a bunch of characters. I mean, I've done this in the past. I played Lineage 2 Revolution with 3 different characters at the same time, and it's not an uncommon thing. So those two features are not available on MuMu App Player. You cannot run multiple instances of the same game, and you cannot record macros. And one other disadvantage is that, some of these other emulators, when you start up the game, they'll automatically have keybinds all set up for you and stuff like that. And MuMu does not have that as well, at least for non-NetEase games. You see these games down here at the bottom. These are like the advertisements. These are all NetEase games. These are with the NetEase logo in the bottom right. So when you play these games, then they do have some certain advantages on MuMu, but I am not playing any NetEase games at the moment, although Identity V is like one of my favorite mobile games of all the time. Anyway, so one big advantage though that MuMu has is playing different games at the same time, and this is something that other emulators don't really do. As you can see here, I have Dragon Raja and Black Desert Mobile open at the exact same time. I can switch between them. Like when I do switch between them, it's like instant. There's no like prioritization. Like one doesn't get like closed off in the background. Like and then I can pull out the window for Black Desert Mobile here, and I could have like two separate windows playing in the games at the same time and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just like, it's awesome. Like I do often do this. I often do play Black Desert and Dragon Raja at the same time. So if I'm like auto grinding in Black Desert, then I'll be focusing on Dragon Raja, and then I'll put my auto grind on Dragon Raja, and then I'll focus on Black Desert, and so on. So yeah, this is a huge advantage that MuMu has that none of the other emulators can really do quite as well. Okay, so next up is BlueStacks. So basically, we can just take all the stuff I said about the MuMu app player and, you know, add in the feature that we can use macros with BlueStacks. We can use multi-instances. In case you're not aware what that actually means, let me pull up the multi-instance window. Okay, so here I could actually go and add a new instance, and like I could make, well, basically as many instances of BlueStacks as my computer can handle. Have like 5, 6, 7. Well, my computer probably could only handle like maybe 5 or 6 at the same time. BlueStacks windows running, and then have like I could have 5 characters in Dragon Raja playing at the same time, or 5 characters in Black Desert Mobile or whatever. But yeah, that's what multi-instance means. And then yeah, of course macros. And then game controls. Like I said, most games automatically have like different keybinds set up when you start the game, so that's one pretty nice thing about the game, or about BlueStacks. And yeah, those are pretty much the advantages of BlueStacks. So the disadvantage though is BlueStacks is always very, very slow to getting the newest games running stable. So like when a new game comes out, it usually doesn't run very well, and doesn't run for a while, because yeah, BlueStacks is just really, really slow about getting support for newer games and stuff like that. So let me pull up BlueStacks real quick. So for example, in Dragon Raja here, even right now as we speak, BlueStacks is not able to run Dragon Raja at, can't run at max frame rate. You can't even run at max resolution. The highest you can go is tier 4, which isn't bad, but yeah. The other ones, that we're going to be talking about today, LDPlayer and MuMu, can both run at 60 FPS and run at max resolution. So yeah, like BlueStacks is just so slow about supporting new games. And in the past I've even got in contact with BlueStacks directly and told them, you know, your game's not, sometimes games won't even work at all. Like I think it was World of Kings that when World of Kings came out, I wanted to use BlueStacks to play it, and it just would not even run. Like, it was terrible, and I kept telling them, and then they kept saying, oh, you're not using enough RAM, or blah 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 blah. Like, I'm like, bro, my PC has 32 gigs of RAM. I have everything maxed. Your emulator is just not working. So yeah, that's the biggest disadvantage to BlueStacks. And then the thing that we were talking about earlier about swapping between two different games, as you can see here, I do have Dragon Raja and Black Desert Mobile open. But as you can see here, when we switch between them, like, I'm pretty sure, I feel like we're getting disconnected or something, because like when I switch back, like I'm not attacking, like it's like there's like a delay, I'm not attacking anymore, and that sort of thing. And then there's like the big black screen. It's just not as good as like with MuMu, you know? Like I mean, you could avoid this. You could say you can avoid this by running 2 instances of BlueStacks. Yeah, that would work, but you know, it's just nice to be able to run thing in one instance, because if I run 2 instances of BlueStacks, then I'm taking up way more resources on my PC and stuff. So, and again, one of the like, I can't drag the window out or anything. They're both stuck in this one instance, and it's just not really a great experience to multi-game. And now we have LDPlayer. So LDPlayer, has basically the same advantages and disadvantages as BlueStacks, except actually they don't have the really slow support for new games. You can actually play new games pretty easily and quickly with pretty much no problems on LDPlayer. I mean, now and then you'll have a problem or two, but definitely not nowhere near as bad as BlueStacks as far as new games go. The thing is, like, I like BlueStacks better when they actually finally get the support out. I feel like BlueStacks does have a little bit of a better look and feel once they actually do have the support out. But LDPlayer, just as a base product, is better in general than BlueStacks. So LDPlayer is a great one. LDPlayer was actually in 2019. I probably mentioned it in a few of my videos back in 2019. I said LDPlayer is the best emulator of 2019 or at that current time, and I meant it. Like LDPlayer was really great for me. The only ever issue I ever really had with LDPlayer is sometimes there's like some sort of audio glitch now and then, but I don't know if that's just a problem on my end or with LDPlayer, but I only get it with LDPlayer, so yeah, some sort of audio glitches pop up now and then, but other than that, LDPlayer runs really well. LDPlayer has support right now, and I think, yeah, on day one, LDPlayer had support for 60 FPS, and in case you guys didn't know this already, for 60 FPS, you have to be on level 3 graphics. So if you want to have level 5, the max graphics, you can only run at 30 FPS. So if you want to have 60 FPS, you have to go down to level 3 graphics. And I think the graphical differences aren't very big, so I do recommend playing on level 3 60 FPS if your computer can handle it. But yeah, the LDPlayer experience is kind of interesting. Like, it's more like a phone and more closer to like a tablet experience. Like, as you can see here, there's no like windows or tabs like BlueStacks and MuMu have, which is kind of one I think it's kind of a disadvantage as someone who likes to play multiple games. So I do have 2 games opens, but as you can see right here, like as we swap here, you can see it's just like if you were using a normal Android phone or tablet. So I can swap back to Black Desert Mobile, but it does have, the delay there. You have to go down here and click this button, and then make sure you click on the right window, and then there's the whole connect and disconnect lag right there. So as far as that goes, I think I give BlueStacks the win as far as like swapping between 2 games like that. Again, you can make the argument that multi-instancing is what you want to do if you want to play multiple games, but it's just, yeah, again, multi-instancing is going to take more resources on your computer, and yeah, MuMu wins on that front. All right, so let's recap real quick. Advantages and disadvantages. MuMuPlayer advantages. We have made by a AAA mobile developer, has sick multi-game swapping, and it's a great quality product. Disadvantages are no built-in keybinds, no macros, and no multi-instancing. BlueStacks advantages: macros, multi-instancing, good quality when the game is finally supported. Disadvantages: slow support for brand new games, clunky single instance multi-game swapping. And LDPlayer advantages: macros, multi-instancing, and little to no problems and great support for new games. Disadvantages: single instance game swapping is just bad, UI is a bit too basic, and audio glitches, I still have to confirm if any other people have those problems. Okay, so there we go. Recap of all that stuff that we just went over. Now let's get into the like actual testing, which has nothing to do with my opinion and all that good stuff. All right, so now let's get into the speed test. So how this is going to work is we're just going to use the timestamps to basically get as much of an accurate time as possible when we're loading up. And the timer starts as soon as like the window pops up as far as like the emulator runs. So we started at 1442 here, and we'll see where we end up. All right, I'll call that 14:55 when it finally loaded. So that's 13 seconds if my math is right. Now we'll load up Dragon Raja. As soon as the screen goes black, that's our timestamp. So that was at 15:04. And you guys can like follow along in the YouTube timestamps. They should be the same as my timestamps on my editor here. So 15:04 is where we started for Dragon Raja loading. And when this game loads up, there's like a little bit of lag. So we're gonna only stop the timer after the lag is done. So like when the car starts going again, it's right here. That was at 15:34. So 30 seconds for that. And now let's load up Black Desert Mobile. Again, when the screen changes color, we started the timer, and that was at 15:41. Black Desert Mobile takes way longer to load for some reason. Even though Dragon Raja, I think, is a way bigger game and better quality graphically, Black Desert Mobile always seems like it takes ages to load. So we started at 15:41. And as soon as it says touchscreen, that was at 16:15. So we have 34 seconds for Black Desert Mobile. So for MuMu Player, the emulator took 13 seconds to load, Dragon Raja took 30 seconds, and Black Desert Mobile took 34 seconds. All right, so let's move on to BlueStacks. We started at 16:38 for the loading, 16:38. Let's see, I think BlueStacks is always really slow to load. Not really sure why, but it is. All right, so we started at 16:38, and now we're in at 17, we'll call it 1700. So 22 seconds for the emulator to load. Now Dragon Raja time. Dragon Raja time is kind of tricky because the lag at the beginning, I feel like that it's still loading when it's lagging. So we're gonna call it like as soon as the car rounds that corner, you know, or like there's like a little crosswalk. So as soon as it gets over that crosswalk, that's where we're gonna call the time. That's what we did with the MuMu Player one too. So Dragon Raja started at 17:07. Call that 17:41 when it crossed that line. So 34 seconds for Dragon Raja, a little bit slower on that one. And now Black Desert Mobile. We're starting up at 17:52. $17.52 on Black Desert Mobile. I feel like graphically right now, as far as like what I've been seeing, I think graphically Black Desert Mobile looks best on BlueStacks. Not really sure why, but I think it does. All right, so that was 18:21, 29 seconds. That's actually a lot faster than MuMu. So yeah, maybe like I said, when BlueStacks gets their stuff down, it runs really well. So to wrap that up, that was 22 seconds for the emulator, which is pretty long, 34 seconds for Dragon Raja, and 29 seconds for Black Desert Mobile. All right, so for LDPlayer here, this is kind of weird because I don't know where to call the time. So we started at 18:50, but as you see here in a moment, there's like apps on the bottom that aren't completely loaded, even though like the ones on our main ones on top are loaded. So we're gonna call it at like the 50% point, like when 4 apps pop up, which is right here at 19:09. So we'll call it 19 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I didn't know what to call that. All right, Dragon Raja 19:15. We started at 19:15 with Dragon Raja. Again, we'll use the point at where the car goes over, or starts rounding that corner or whatever, you know, as our point for the loading stop time. Come on, Dragon Raja. You can do it. You can do it. We started at 19:15 and 19:53. Well, 19:53, so 38 seconds. 38. Wow, that's the slowest one so far. I expected LDPlayer to be actually faster than BlueStacks on this. Alright, so let's check out Black Desert Mobile then. We'll be starting this at 2010. 20 minutes, 10-second mark. And see how fast this loads up. But yeah, it was 38 seconds for Dragon Raja. I was expecting LDPlayer to be a lot faster, even for like the emulator load time. I guess, I mean, we could have called it 15 seconds if we called it right when those 4 apps popped up, but still, I thought it was going to be faster than MuMu. Alright, Black Desert is at 20:42. So 32 seconds for Black Desert Mobile. Alright, so for LDPlayer, we have 19 seconds on the emulator, 38 seconds on Dragon Raja, 32 seconds on Black Desert Mobile. So actually, BlueStacks and LDPlayer loaded Black Desert faster, which is interesting. Okay, for this FPS test, we're on MuMu Player right now, by the way. This is MuMu, starting with MuMu. So how we're going to do this is we're going to start at these purple flowers for all the emulators. We'll make sure our settings are at max on everything. And the reason we're using Black Desert and not Dragon Raja is because, like I said before, BlueStacks doesn't support 60 FPS on Dragon Raja, so BlueStacks would automatically lose in that case. So we're going to use Black Desert here. So we're on high, max, Start out at the purple flowers, and we'll just auto for 30 seconds and kind of just watch the FPS counter in the upper left and see if there's any huge variations and drops and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's go now. So it seems pretty steady at 45, 43, 44. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty steady at 45, 43, 44. Good 30 seconds there. So we'll go and try the next ones. And if there's no huge differences, then that's just, we'll just say that's that it is what it is then. We're just gonna try to find huge differences. If there's only minimal differences, like 1 or 2 FPS, then it's like negligible, right? So let's go on to our next one then. Alright, so here we are on BlueStacks, and gosh, this game just looks so much better on BlueStacks than MuMu. I don't know why, what could the reason be for that? So I don't have any like all my settings, I didn't really mention this before, but all my settings for like all the emulators are pretty basic. I just have OpenGL mode. We're not using advanced graphics or anything like that. Again, but we do have preferred dedicated computer graphics. I don't know if that makes a difference. We're not using ASTC textures. We're just using basic settings. OpenGL with 4 CPU and 4 gigs of RAM. But yeah, for some reason, BlueStacks just looks way better, and we're getting 60 FPS. Whereas we were not even getting over 45 on MuMu. So I wonder, again, this could be my issue. This could be something on my end that I'm doing wrong with MuMu. But yeah, this looks good on BlueStacks. So let's go ahead and do our 30 seconds and see if we have any noticeable problems. Dropping down to 55, 48, a couple big drops here and there. So it's, I mean, on MuMu we had stable 45. We get a few drops here and there, but we're still well above 50 on BlueStacks. And again, like the graphics themselves just look a lot more clean and a lot better. So shouts out to BlueStacks on that. Like I said, and I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time I've said this on this recording so far. BlueStacks, they they get their stuff when they get their stuff right. It's just like it looks amazing. So they might be slow getting out the gate, getting like support for everything, but once they do get it, it's beautiful. Like I'd still say, you know, Dragon Raja is a better looking game than Black Desert Mobile, but looking at it from this perspective in BlueStacks, it actually looks pretty good. I like it. Good job, BlueStacks. All right, so here we are on LDPlayer, and I feel like it. Oh man, does this look as good as BlueStacks or not? I think BlueStacks looks a little bit better than this, but it's pretty close. This is still definitely better than MuMu for Black Desert Mobile. Again, settings are all high max. Emulator settings are pretty much the same. You have here we go. 4 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, and I don't think DirectX is even an option on LDPlayer. So we're using should be OpenGL, and ASTC is disabled. Okay, and we're getting 60, 59, 60 FPS. So let's go ahead and get this test rolling. Let's get it. 30 seconds of auto combat. It's dropping down to 48, 55, 52, 51. I feel like the average FPS is a little bit lower on this one. There's a lot. The big drops are happening a bit more frequently than they were on BlueStacks. Again, I mean, it does matter. It's hard to say really, because it depends on the position that our character is in. We're just going on auto for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is up, by the way. And yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I want to give BlueStacks the edge here as far as graphics and frame rate, but it's really close. Really close. Okay. So let's sum things up here, man. I didn't expect this turn of events at the end with MuMu only having a cap of 45 FPS on Black Desert, but yeah, that's what happened, and it also doesn't look as good. So, man. All right, here's how it is. So I want to give MuMu and LDPlayer the wins here because, okay, here's my reasoning. I would say if you want a completely stable experience with an Android emulator, you want to go with MuMu, and if you want to have like the feature of being able to play multiple games at the same time, stable, smooth, just stable and smooth experience, you go with MuMu. Okay, and then if you want a little bit more high graphic fidelity and stuff like that, then you go with LDPlayer. And I mean, you do have the choice of going with BlueStacks as well for that, but basically BlueStacks is okay. The reason like I just can't recommend BlueStacks is because of the issue with new games. Like, what's the holdup with new games? Like, for the past, okay guys, I've been using these emulators for 3 years, about 3 years or so. I started 3 or 4 years. I started, I think my most major break into mobile gaming was with Lineage 2 Revolution back in 2017, and yeah, I think I was still messing around with a few before then too, and I've been using every single emulator. I've used BlueStacks, I've used LDPlayer, I've used KO Player, I've used Nox, I've used Mimu, I've used MuMu. There's probably a few other. I've used Tencent Gaming Buddy, I've used Game Loop, I think that's all of them. there's probably something I'm forgetting, but I've tried and used and tested all of these emulators throughout the years. And, you know, I've always liked BlueStacks, but they just have so many issues with new releases. And that's just unacceptable, in my opinion. Like, if you wanna be rated the best emulator, you need to get on your game with new releases. Straight up. That's just how I'm gonna say it. So if that were not an issue, I would give BlueStacks number 1. But that is such a huge issue, I cannot even recommend it at all. Because a lot of people like to play new releases, and that's if your emulator can't play new releases, then yeah, you just can't even be in the contention here. So LDPlayer and MuMu are the ones I recommend. MuMu is the 100% stable solution, and LDPlayer is pretty stable with high graphic fidelity and some nice features along with it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. That's my recommendation. BlueStacks, I love you. You have some beautiful graphics. When you do it right, you do it really right, but it takes you too damn long to do it right. Okay? So, that's the way it is. That is my 2 cents on this whole emulator fight. Nox and MuMu, I like you guys too. You guys do what you do well. You guys are just not in this this tier of emulator, but I like Nox and MuMu as well. MuMu is really, really good if you want like really good I mean, the graphics and everything look crap, and some of the like the gameplay isn't always the greatest, but really low. If you have a low end system, like MuMu is the best, I think, for low end systems. Nox is really good for like medium systems because they don't really use that many resources, but you're not going to get the greatest experience overall. But for low end systems, those two are really, really great. But if you're looking for like the best experience possible, MuMu, LDPlayer, that's it. That's the final word. Okay, I said it. All right, guys. I hope this helped you guys in like finding like a reason to use one emulator over the other. Like, and like, I'm not saying like it depends on your situation. It completely depends on your situation. Like, if you're not playing the new releases, play with BlueStacks. And this can also be very individual depending on your hardware setup. So like what my experience is isn't necessarily applicable to your experience depending on your hardware. Like, I have a Ryzen 7 1700X, I have a GTX 1060, NVIDIA GTX 1060, 32 gigabytes of RAM, running at I think 2800 megahertz. Yeah, and that's the gist of it. So, and yeah, depending on your hardware, this whole thing could be completely different. Anyway, I'm gonna stop babbling at this point and just wrap it up and say MuMu and LDPlayer are the winners. BlueStacks, step here, new release came up, and you just really have to do that. You just have to. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm gonna take a break now. This was a long video, so peace out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. GG's.